Everyone expects you to have all the answers, but who's asking you how you're doing? Who's helping you think through your challenges? Engineer Your Success Insiders is my private podcast designed specifically for you. It's like having a coach in your corner focused on helping you win at work and at home. One story, one insight, one action that you can take, all wrapped up into real coaching insights that you can use. Join at engineeryoursuccessnow.com/insiders.
Success isn't just about what you achieve. It's about living a life that reflects your values and priorities. Welcome to Engineer Your Success, the podcast that helps you lead with intention and live fulfilled.
I want to welcome you to the Engineer Your Success podcast. My name is Dr. James Bryant, your host and your guide for winning at work and home. Today, we are joined by Nathan Whittacre, CEO of Stimulus Technologies. He's been guiding businesses through technology transformation since 1995. Nathan has helped companies adapt to every major tech wave, from how do we get connected to the internet to how do we work in today's AI-powered workplace. He's also the author of the CEO's Digital Survivor Guide and a trusted voice in helping leaders adopt technology with strategy, not just hype. In this episode, we're going to explore how engineering leaders can win with AI. Nathan, welcome to the show.
It's James. It's great to be here.
I'm glad you made time to join the podcast. I have a few questions for you, so we're going to jump right in. What's one memory or story that captures your journey into technology and entrepreneurship?
I've been in the industry for 30 years. We started Stimulus Technologies in 1995. I was a senior in high school when we started the company. It was my brother, my dad, and I was very interested in technology ever since I was a little kid, but I got part of this group called Global Lab. One of the teachers in the science department was part of this international group of high school students that would do research in their environment, in their local communities. And we would share the research with these other schools. Things like water studies, radon studies. He recruited me because I was interested in technology and he needed help sending emails. Back in the late 80s, early 90s, just communicating through emails. We would have to dial in to the local university and use Unix to just send and receive these emails. It was over his head, and some students were struggling. Being part of that made me realize the future of connectivity across the world. We were communicating with students in Romania, in Australia, across the United States. And these were international students we were communicating with and sharing knowledge about our communities. It really brought to light where we were heading as a world about connecting with the internet. The World Wide Web was just starting. There was no YouTube or Google at that time. Being early on in that, that's one of the things I wanted to incorporate in my career in technology is that the global connectivity and helping people in communities reach out and understand what's going on in other communities. And it was an amazing experience for the 4 years I was part of it in high school to see something that has transformed the world since then.
You started in high school. Can you talk about the evolution of things you've been tracking over the past 30 years?
So when we started Stimulus, my company just were building computers and helping small businesses use the computer systems. Windows 95 had just come out when we started the company. And I think Bill Gates famously said, we're just really not interested in the internet. We're focused on local computing and local networks. And they quickly had to change course and incorporated Internet Explorer into Windows. And we obviously have seen the change from companies connected to the internet, maybe one computer, dial-up internet, broadband, high-speed internet, high-speed connectivity, email and instant communication, now video communication being completely part of how we do business each day. And the evolution of technology, you think back to the dot-com boom and bust, and different companies coming and going over the years, and these conglomerates that we thought were going to be, huge and did not turn out to be what they originally purported to be. And then social media coming online and businesses being involved in social media and the ad generation that has come out from that, and the connectivity to an individual through social media. We've seen the evolution of cybersecurity change dramatically. Back in when we started, it was just easy enough to install antivirus on a computer. It was enough because viruses would only be communicated if you put a floppy disk in the computer that was infected. You downloaded some, or bought some shareware or something that might have been infected. Now it's hackers are actively attacking companies. And then, the last 5 years has been really the change of AI and, how we accelerate business through artificial intelligence. Remote work has been a big part of the last 5 years too, since COVID, connecting people anywhere at any time and getting accelerated work. The technology industry doesn't look anywhere near like it did 25, 30 years ago. It's dramatically different. And think about that as thinking in the future, how is it going to change the same amount in the next 30 years?
So you've talked about challenges that you worked on starting, making sure that people were able to send email and then helping them implement Windows 95. What are the problems that you're being asked to solve by today's business leaders?
Today, business leaders want to ensure that they're getting a good ROI out of any technology they're implementing. And I think there's a fear, does this investment really pay off? Plenty of companies have bought a CRM that never turned out any results, or an ERP system that the implementation went off the rails and never got the results that they were expecting. And then there's technology that is surprisingly effective. Being able to implement Microsoft Teams or Slack, it increases productivity dramatically and the communication dramatically from where we were just a few years ago. Business leaders, especially in small businesses where we deal with mostly, just want a good return on whatever technology investment that they make. And they want it to last. They don't want to have it having to rip and replace every few years with new technology. That's very costly and problematic for their businesses. So they want solutions that last a long time. They want a good return on investment, and they don't want it to be overcomplicated. They want it to be simple and be able to implement quickly.
What are some ways the companies that you work with are measuring that ROI?
I think we talk to our companies about setting a baseline of where they're at. So thinking about if they want to implement a new technology, the question is why first. What problem are they trying to solve, rather than just looking at, oh, this is a shiny new object, let's go chase after it. Start with a baseline. And once you have that baseline in place, have some preparation. Make sure that this new technology is going to incorporate into their business operations effectively, or is it going to dramatically change the way they do business? I mean, that's a question they have to answer. Once you get through that process of implementation, then you go back and look, are we doing things better today than we were at that baseline prior? And that's really the question. You have to run a comparison against it. Is it more effective, more cost effective? Are we serving our customers better? Are we serving our employees better because of this new technology? And you can only answer that as if you really understood why you were implementing it. What were the key changes you wanted to make inside the organization? And once you do that, then you can measure the effectiveness of any new technology.
What are some pre-adoption strategies? When I think about adoption, I've tested it, looked at it, I see the way that it's going to be some kind of return on investment. And now I'm going to integrate this into my business practices. So maybe it's, what are some pre-integration strategies?
Well, I like going through a lean method analysis of your processes, lay out your existing processes, say, how are we doing things today? With sticky notes or however, virtual technology used to do that. But you really define what the process looks like. You look for processes, or parts that take too much time or are ancillary to the outcome. Then you work through technology to make those processes better. And I think that's the way that you look at it beforehand, you have to really understand the real process you're taking, and then you can work towards solving the bottlenecks along that process, either removing them maybe, or implementing technology or new methods of doing things to make it better.
I love that because as you're talking, I'm envisioning an engineer listening saying, okay, I'm not the CEO. How do I implement this? But what you laid out is a great strategy. Look at what you're doing. Where do you spend your time? And can any of that lend itself to some kind of automation or some kind of way in which AI can help you do that more productively?
It was interesting. I learned this lesson early on. In our company, we used to do software development. I was consulting with a company on a software implementation. Before we wrote this new custom software package for them, we really wanted to understand what processes that they were going through in their company. And it was integrating customer service with their engineering department. We brought in everybody, the engineers, the customer service people, some of the sales people. We brought them into a conference room and we spent a day laying out the processes. And what was funny is we discovered that people were doing things, generating reports, creating files, and they were saving them out, expecting somebody else needed them down the road because they were told that other people needed these documents. And then we went around the room and nobody was using this plethora of information that was being generated, these TPS reports or whatever it may be, right? And we quickly realized that we were going to write software to do some work that nobody wanted or utilized. And it was taking a half an hour a day among the team. And when we added up the cost, it was thousands of dollars and just a waste of time. And it was going to cost much more if we had incorporated in the software. Getting all stakeholders, even if you aren't the leader of the organization, working with the people in your groups of understanding what are you doing and what information are you generating and is it useful to anybody else? And that's an easy thing to solve.
What led you to write the CEO's Digital Survival Guide?
These are questions I get asked a lot. I was thinking, in 30 years, what questions that CEOs ask me over and over from a technology standpoint. What are the pain points between the IT department and the leadership of organizations? I went on a long hike. For my 40th birthday, I wanted to set out and do this 220-mile hike. And I knew nothing about it. And it was kind of like a lot of CEOs of organizations know nothing about IT, but they have to lead and often a very technological organization, even if they're making widgets or selling cars, doing tax returns. It's a technology organization today. Where is that pain point? I use my journey of learning how to properly execute a long through hike, not ever have doing it before. What resources did I rely on to make that successful? And it was, trusted guides, information, groups that had done it before that I talked to. And it's like, CEOs need something similar to this, a trusted guide that they can use as a reference manual to understand how to communicate and execute on technology properly. That's what led me to write the book.
What was the most surprising thing you found in the writing process?
I had been wanting to write this book for a long time in fits and starts, and realizes I needed somebody to be accountable to. And so I know you were probably thinking about a technology question, but really it was my own personality of I needed somebody to be accountable to every week. So I hired a writing coach. I wrote the book myself. I wasn't a ghostwritten book because you can do that. You can work with a ghostwriter, but I worked with a coach and I was responsible for X amount of content every week that she would review. She wasn't a technology person. And so it was great to get a perspective from somebody that wasn't a technology person. And she'd come back and say, "You're not explaining this well. I don't understand what you're talking about." I'd have to rewrite it so anybody could understand it. Just having that accountability, having somebody that had to understand the materials I was generating.
I think that is wonderful. The way your answer is what I was trying to get at. What was most surprising to you about this process of writing a book? I interview engineers, technologists, business owners, service providers, all in service of helping to improve productivity, improve performance. within the different facets of engineering. But the one thing I always come back to is that engineers are people too. A business owner is a person too. The same kind of struggles or issues or joys that any regular person faces, those engineers face as well. You know how to solve tough technical problems, but leading people, that's a different challenge. Stepping into leadership means more than just knowing your stuff. It's about inspiring, communicating, and navigating challenges with confidence. At Engineer Your Success, we help technical pros like you grow into leaders who just don't manage the work, but lead the people who do. If you're ready to lead with clarity and impact, visit engineeryoursuccessnow.com today, because thriving isn't just for others, it's for you.
I think we lose sight of it in business, especially in technology, science, or engineering. We get into it because we love the craft. If we lose sight of why we're doing that work, because what we're doing is serving people, it doesn't become enjoyable. And the product is just another widget we're putting out. But if we look at it that we're changing people's lives through technology, through engineering, through science, whatever it may be, and we're making a difference, that can bring joy to the work.
Yeah, it reminds me of something I did on the Rollins Way podcast it's April Blackburn was talking about this concept of technology and working with state DOTs and large governmental organizations. The shift came when she started helping them see that technology isn't just a solution, but that technology is a strategy to help get to a solution.
I would agree with that. That's great advice.
It's a tool, it's a strategy. Begin to use it strategically to solve problems versus the old version, which is my email's not working, my printer's not working, let me get the IT department to fix it. It's more, how can we use technology to solve larger issues?
When you're thinking about AI, thinking about some of these tools that have, dropped in our laps recently, it is just another tool to help us in that end goal. And we just can't lose sight of that end goal. We can't be wrapped up in AI or whatever latest technology that we have. The end goal is to improve, individuals and communities' lives through technology. It's not here to replace us. It's not here to replace the work we're doing. It's really here to enhance our lives.
No, I agree 100%. So we talked a little about the book. Are there key principles or action steps in the book that would be good for our listeners to hear or follow?
I spend a lot of time in the book discussing cybersecurity. I think it's a big part of what we have to be aware of and the dangers that are out there. I think that's a big concern that business leaders have to understand how to protect their companies from hacking, employees that do rogue things too. Having a good understanding of how to protect your business through compliance frameworks or just general cybersecurity principles, you run a much better business. And what I really liked, I wrote a chapter in the book on compliance too. And what I found when researching it and studying how compliance can really help businesses is running an efficient organization and a compliant organization, you create a much better organization. And you become, even though you have more reporting, you have a framework to work around from a security standpoint, in the end, you have procedures and policies in place inside your organization that aligns the entire organization in the right direction and the direction that leaders want to go. And so I think, that was a big insight for me is an organization that grows, that once you become, past maybe 10 or 20 employees inside a business, you have to have that structure in place to, win bigger contracts, work with governmental organizations, to meet deadlines on contract execution. And so having that structure creates a better organization from top to bottom.
What do you see as the biggest cybersecurity challenge in the next 3 to 5 years?
So I mentioned AI already. AI has really given hackers a very interesting tool to enhance their social engineering capabilities and convince people to do things they wouldn't necessarily do. business email compromise is still the number one threat to companies. And the micro targeting and research that hackers can do through AI, much better than a few years ago. The biggest threat right now is how hackers are incorporating AI technologies to write better emails, to better target individuals inside the organization, better infiltrate organizations to get what they want, whether that's confidential information, whether that's extortion through things like ransomware, whether it's the age-old gift card scam. They're convincing people to do things.
Okay. Someone is tuned into the podcast, they're listening to the podcast. What's one message you want to make sure that's communicated to them?
I think staying on top of what's happening in technology is essential. No matter what career you're in, being on top of the latest technologies, where things are going, and using technology effectively in the work that you're doing. Right now, we're talking a lot about AI, and a lot of companies are incorporating AI tools outside of just ChatGPT and Copilot or whatever AI tool that you want to use. It's interesting how companies writing line of business applications are incorporating AI into their systems, creates productivity enhancement, and staying on top of it, how to effectively use it, communicate it with it, and operate in day-to-day work is essential for anybody today.
I appreciate you distilling that down to an answer for the one question, the one thing that I would ask. But, when we think about how engineering leaders can win with AI, what other suggestions do you have for them?
We're cracking the beginning of AI. We're talking about it a lot today because ChatGPT came out 2.5 years ago. AI has been around in business for many years. The term AI was coined in the late 1950s, and data scientists and computer scientists have been working on AI for 70 years. It's just in our hands today at a cost that we can afford. Between computing power and the actual technology has grown beyond a very infant stage to where it's available to the mass market. I think one of the, not all AI is equal. There's definitely a lot of tools that are maybe more automation than AI. Some problems can be solved with automation and don't have to have the complexity of AI being involved with it. So I think that's one thing really to look at. What is better solved by automation versus a complex tool? And then I think what we need to do, especially in the small business, lower middle market business, is look to vendors and new vendors for the technology that we're using that have incorporated AI into their systems to solve problems. It's a bridge too far today for a small company to write their own AI solutions. But, we can leverage what other people are doing to effectively solve the problems. The other thing too, with generative AI systems, it gives us the ability to do things that, we used to do a lot of computer programming, and I don't do as much anymore. I lead an organization and I don't use the technology, but every once in a while I want to write a script or write a tool to do something. And it would take me hours to remember how to do it. I haven't done it for a couple of years. Using these language models to solve problems, we'd be slower to do on our own. So I think there's just a lot of cool things that we're going through now, and we're going to see so much more in the next 5 years. So just staying on top of it, keep your ear to the ground of what's happening with technology will help you lead your organization effectively.
Nathan, I appreciate you chatting with us. If someone wanted to get in contact with you, what's the best way for them to do that?
I'm on LinkedIn, so you can find me and message me on LinkedIn. So just search my name, Nathan Whittacre, on LinkedIn. If you connect with me on LinkedIn and shoot me a message, I'd be happy to send you a free copy of my book. So feel free to do that. Or you can find us at stimulustech.com. That's my company's website.
We'll include links to all of that in the show notes. So now you've done such a gracious job of answering all of my questions. Now I like to switch things up and allow you to ask me a question. What question do you have?
A few years ago, my oldest daughter had her tonsils removed. A doctor asked her before surgery if she had any questions, and she blurted out, "What's your favorite ice cream?" So what's your favorite ice cream and why?
My favorite ice cream when I do eat ice cream. It's a local place here in Richmond, Virginia called Salati Gillespie's. And I like their Oreo ice cream. It's like cookies and cream, but it's Oreo. It's a little bit more chocolatey, very rich. I only have it maybe once or twice a year because if I buy any amount, I tend to eat the whole amount regardless of what it is. You know how you buy something and say, I'm gonna take this half gallon and put it in the fridge. If I have it in the house, it will call me and I'll just eat it.
Sounds like delicious ice cream. I love myself some cookies and cream.
Yeah. All right. Love it, man. Love it. So I'm going to end this podcast episode like I end every podcast episode, and that's this. Many people know what to do. Fewer people know how to do it. And there's a select group of people that follow through, do it, and they're living the life of their dreams, and they're helping engineers, scientists, technical folks, and other leaders live the life of their dreams as well. Nathan, I want to thank you for being part of that select few.
You keep hitting the same walls with your team, your workload, your life.
You know what they say about insanity? Doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results?
Are you ready to break the cycle? Engineer Your Success. Insiders is Dr. James Bryant's private podcast. It's like having a coach in your corner focused on helping you win at work and home.
One story, one insight, one action to help you focus on what matters most.
Join at engineeryoursuccessnow.com/insiders.